Hey, let's discuss some Spurs news and notes that you may have. The draft spotlight, Reed Sheppard.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. I am your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs beat writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hope everybody's having a great day and getting through this long Spurs offseason. Hey, the draft is right around the corner, so there'll be some fun things to talk about very, very soon. As always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Ken's 5 Plus app. Pick a platform. We are there. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Hey, what are we talking about today? Briefly, some quick Spurs news and notes that you may have missed, and then bringing our guest, Jack Thompson, formerly of San Antonio Sports Star. We're going to be putting the draft spotlight, Reed Sheppard, should the Spurs use one of their picks to get the sharp shooting guard. And then getting to your comments, the Locked On Spurs fans comments. Let's just say y'all talking about the draft. So a lot of draft discussion in this episode. But first, some Spurs news you may have missed. Hey, congratulations to former Austin Spurs head coach, Will Voigt. He is now an assistant coach with BYU. So I had a chance to speak with Coach Voigt last season when he was heading up the Austin Spurs. Really good guy, deserving. But now it'll be interesting to see who will take the head coaching spot for the Austin Spurs. Very, very interesting. It's kind of been a revolving door of late. Voigt replaced one other coach, and then that coach stayed on for 1 year. So maybe they'll find some stability with that head coaching spot. But nevertheless, congratulations, Coach Voigt. Well deserved. Hopefully he'll be a head coach again sometime soon. In other Spurs news, in case you missed it now, this should be fun. First of all, those are not in San Antonio. What's very popular is Mexican candy. Basically, it's sour, it's sweet, it can be spicy. Well, Keldon Johnson recently tried his hand at eating some. He did a kind of a taste testing Mexican candy thing with a local grocery store named H-E-B, for those of you who don't live in San Antonio. And let's just say he loved it. He loved it. He liked the sour straws. He also thought that, hey, yeah, he will go buy some. But they were just really sour stuff. I want to see when he tries spicy stuff. He didn't try anything spicy, so we'll see how he handles the spicy stuff. If he does, something tells me I think he'll be able to withstand the heat, because sometimes those Mexican candies can get very, very spicy. In other Spurs news, we'll be discussing this on a future episode of Locked On Spurs. Jeremy Sohan, he spoke with a foreign outlet and basically addressed the rebuild. And in a nutshell, he said, "We're staying patient." So look, and he even admitted that the team, the staff, the players, everybody talks about it, and that he believes that they're going to stay the course. He pointed to Denver. He said, look how long it took them to reach where they're at right now. He even said, that now they're Joker and Murray, they're 26, 27 years old. They didn't get it overnight. So at least according to him, the Spurs are going to be taking a very, very patient and deliberate approach with the rebuild. So we'll see exactly what they'll do. Let's just say a lot of Spurs fans don't like that. They think the Spurs should hit the gas pedal and make things happen now. We all know the Spurs assets they're sitting on. But we should see what they'll do with that moving forward. But at least according to Jeremy Sohan, they're still going to stay the course. And if they do, nobody should be surprised. Brian Wright spoke about it. Popovich spoke about it. The players, Sohan, talking about how they're going to take measured steps in the rebuild. But we shall see. Hey, they got 4 and 8 in the upcoming draft. Maybe they can package that. To make something happen. We'll see. Or just stay the course. Something telling me they'll stay the course and just pick at number 4, number 8, and be done with the NBA draft. But all those draft picks, they got to do something with it, right? They have to do something. That's just a mountain full of them. They got to move them. We'll see what they'll do. And like always, the Spurs are involved. We won't know until it actually happens. And just a quick reminder, if you didn't check out yesterday's Locked On Spurs, please go check that out. We had Spurs Devontae Graham. He joined the show to discuss his efforts with the 2024 Basketball Without Borders out in Spain. He's basically coaching. Did he admit that he would like to be a coach one day in his future? Does he have any fears? He talked about some fears as well. Again, I would highly recommend you go back yesterday's episode of Locked On Spurs, check it out. We got another Spur on deck. I think Devontae has been on Locked On Spurs. I know Doug McDermott has. I believe Keldon Johnson has. Keldon Johnson's brother, Caleb Johnson's been on Locked On Spurs. And then I believe who else has been on here? Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker's been on a couple times. But nevertheless, there's so many other players. But go check it out. Again, Devontae Graham made a stop on yesterday's Locked On Spurs. All right, there's your quick Spurs news and notes. When we get back, we're going to be having our guest, Jack Thompson, formerly of San Antonio Sports Star. We're going to be discussing, Reed Sheppard. Should the Spurs select him with one of their first-round picks? That's next right here on Locked On Spurs. Let's talk to you about FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, listen up. New customers, write this down, or just remember this. Do what you got to do. You can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Yeah, you heard that right. $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. What more do you need? You can bet on, let's see, the spreads, money lines, player props, so much more. The app, wherever you get in your mobile device, or you can just make an account. It's so easy to use. It's very user-friendly, very intuitive. You can make your picks, 1, 2, 3, very easy to use. That's why I highly recommend you go check out FanDuel right now. You want to go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today, right now. What are you waiting for? Make every playoff moment shot count with FanDuel. Have some fun. Look, I know the Spurs don't have are not in the NBA Finals, but you got Derek White, former Spur, with Boston. So, and then you got the Mavericks. Hey, Popovich said it was okay to cheer for the Mavericks. Maybe you are. So just because the Spurs are not on there, doesn't mean you can't have fun with the NBA Finals and FanDuel. It's FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, I want to talk about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. Go there right now if you're in San Antonio, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Need a latte? They got it. Cold brew? They got it. Dairy alternatives? They got that. What about their signature drink, like the Mudslinger Coffee? They got that too. Mini donuts? They got it all. That's where you got to go. To Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee. They were a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs and a proud community member serving San Antonio the best drinks in the city. Hey, follow them on social media at Mudslinger SATX. Why? Because they have so many promotions. They interact with fans. You can see if they're what the flavors of the month are. They got it all. That's why you got to follow them right now. Hey, heads up, they have a Lightning Bolt series, which includes the Alien, which is a drink in honor of Victor Wembanyama. Well, just heads up, they're going to be switching it out. Now, they usually come with Red Bull. Now, Red Bull will still be an option, but they're now going to go with Lotus Energy. 7 power plant extracts. It gives you the flexibility. It gives them the flexibility to create new drinks. Has the same caffeine effect as a Red Bull, but with those 7 power plant extracts. But again, that'll be the default. But if you want Red Bull, they can have that for you as well. You got to go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now, 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive, open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Go there right now because life is too short for a bland coffee.
A Jedi uses the Force. To subscribe to Locked On Spurs, pass on what you have learned.
And we're now joined by Jack Thompson, our go-to guy here at Locked On Spurs for all things NBA draft prospects, and so much more. Follow him on X at Jack_Thompson33, formerly with San Antonio Sports Star. Jack, you're back, and every day, step closer to the draft, man. How you feeling?
Yes, sir. Hey, I'm getting more antsy by the day, man. I cannot wait.
How antsy is Jack? He texted me that he wanted to do another episode of Locked On Spurs about our draft spotlight series up until the NBA draft. Today, we have in the hot seat Reed Sheppard. Dare I say, Jack, kind of a polarizing player? Because on paper, it's good, but then there's, there's a lot of pros and then there's a lot of cons. And they kind of cancel each other out. So let's go to dive into it. Obviously everybody knows Spurs have 4 picks in first round, 4 and 8. How is Reed Sheppard coming out on the mocks right now? Is he holding steady? Is he a riser? Is he a faller? What are you seeing?
I mean, I would say arguably Reed Sheppard is the biggest riser in the whole class. I mean, coming into last season at Kentucky, I mean, he was definitely, a highly touted player out of high school, and his mom and his dad both played basketball at Kentucky. So he was meant to go there. There's a lot of hype around that, but no one really knew how he was going to perform at the college level. He had a lot of other really, higher ranked players ahead of him going into Kentucky, but man, he showed out last year. He's probably the best shooter in the class. He has
Mm,
picture perfect form. He has a very, very high basketball IQ, and he just knows the game really well. Now, he exploded at the combine, literally. I mean,
mhm.
he had the highest vertical leap of, I think it was like 40 inches.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
he tested well in all of the speed drills, everything like that. Shot the ball. Obviously, he shot the ball incredibly well. So yeah, I mean, of all the players in the draft that came from, it seems like Reed literally came from nowhere, and now
Mhm.
looks like he's a guaranteed at least top 7 pick. It seems like so. Reed Sheppard definitely the biggest riser in this class.
But you would consider him a top 10 pick, correct? Also in
Yeah.
the top
Oh,
10, okay.
yeah. He's looking like he's definitely top 10.
Yeah. Now we were talking about Reed Sheppard here. The Spurs, as mentioned, at 4-8. So yeah. Would you be surprised if the Spurs burned one of those picks on Shepard? Would you be more surprised they burned him using number 4?
I would definitely be more surprised if they took him at 4. I think I like Reed a lot as a player. He's probably going to be a very good NBA player for a long time. And I think you look at, projections of what he may be. And for me, he levels out a lot to a teenage TJ McConnell type player. Just a very, very solid um, point guard, can come in, he
Which is
can
not
start,
bad.
he
I mean,
can
that's not
no,
a
I
bad
mean,
comp at all.
that's
Yeah.
that's a 10-year NBA vet right there. I mean, that's all you can ask for when you're coming into the draft. Not everyone's going to be a star. Some people are going to have to find their NBA niche a little bit in a different way. And I think Reed can come in and be a very, very productive NBA player for a very long time.
Now let's go to look at how he would fit into the Spurs. You're looking at his strengths. Jack already hit on it. Shooting. I believe
Shooting.
the dude's a efficient shooter. I think he shot 52% from the
Yeah,
free
he
line.
led the
Yeah,
NCAA. He led the NCAA in 3-point percent, true 3-point percentage last year at
yeah,
52%.
yeah. And then overall from the field, he shot about 54%. So Jack, that is the Spurs' biggest, deficit or the hole in the whole roster right now is consistent shooting.
Yeah.
He would check the boxes in that department. Now, would you call him a 3-level scorer? He definitely can hit the 3 shot. He could hit the mid-range shot. Would you call him kind of, can he do any damage in the paint?
I think
What
there's
do you think
gonna
about that?
be Yeah, I think he can definitely develop into that. I mean, he's insanely athletic. You would not look at him and think, "Wow, he's got a 40-inch vertical." He's super athletic. It's going to take some adjustment for him to be able to go in and finish in the trees in the NBA. He's going to have to be able to really get that floater game down, a
Mhm.
lot of misdirection, stuff like that. But yeah, I think he can definitely develop into a 3-level scorer in the league. He's a very, very intriguing prospect, especially with that ability to shoot and his ability to run the point guard with his high level basketball IQ. I think he's a very intriguing prospect for a lot of teams.
You don't suspect this would be another point guard experiment, right? If the Spurs were to slot him at the PG spot, he should be fine, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, as far as coming in right away, there's always coming in as a point guard is the biggest adjustment there is in the league because it's just the game is so much faster. You're being guarded by quicker, more athletic, bigger guys. The sets are different. The rules are a little different. So yeah, I think, right away there's always going to be an adjustment period, but yeah, I think he's going to be able to be a plug and play type player and immediately come in and do some damage in the NBA.
Yeah. What I like about that is he's coming in with whether the Spurs or whatever team picks him, and no ego. He looks at this player that no
Mhm.
ego, will know his
Yeah.
role.
Mhm.
He'll follow directions and do what needs to be done to get win. Like you mentioned, the TJ McConnell. I think that's a great comp. I was going to go with JJ Redick. I was going to go with that comp, but TJ
That's
McConnell I
good
think is
as
better.
far as the shoot. If you merged those 2 players together,
Mhm.
that could be what Reed Sheppard is because he's got the shooting ability of JJ Redick, but JJ was never a, ball handling guard.
Right.
So I think, yeah, the TJ McConnell comp I like a lot, but TJ's not
Hmm.
a, he's not a great shooter, especially from three. So I think that's where Reed, I like the Reddit comp there as well.
Yeah. Now we know his biggest strength is the shooting, and in today's NBA, three shot is very, very important, as
Oh
we
yeah.
all seen over the last few years. But as far as the cons, you know, he lacks the ideal size, Jack, and the physique. So he's
Yeah.
not a big guard. How much is
No.
that going to impact him?
See, that is where the the Holt comes for me when it comes to the Reed Sheppard to the Spurs talk. While yes, he's an incredible shooter, and yes, he's got a very high basketball IQ. He's a 6'2"
Yeah.
guard at the end of the day, and coming into the NBA, it's interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how he's able to learn to manipulate the game towards his game style. But have this voice in the back of my head just telling me, man, I'm just very nervous that he's going to be swallowed up by bigger guards and just have a tough time, a tough go at it on the offensive end when it comes to, guarding these bigger guards. Now, on the defensive end, I mean, you know, he's 6'2", super athletic. He's going to have the want to and the drive. That's really where it comes from defensively. I'm not
Mhm.
really worried about him guarding other guards. I think he could be able to do so. But man, I just on the offensive end, I worry a little bit about him, being swallowed up by these bigger guards in the
Yeah.
league, like Shea and just
Yeah.
these real athletic long guards that are taking over the league. I think it's going to be a tough time for him for that adjustment.
Well, shout out Jalen Brunson then, because he's proving that you don't need to be that to
It's true. I mean,
be.
that's very true.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
very
Jalen
true.
Brunson is just killing it right now. But as far as the cons for the Spurs drafting him, we know what the pros are. I mean, we nailed it right now. But the cons, another thing that worries me outside of his stature is that he's not a versatile player, is he? He's not. I don't want to say one dimensional, but I can see teams just, give him the lane, crowd him out. Let's see what he does.
Yeah.
Get him,
Just
run him
run them
off the
off the
three
line.
line, just
Hmm.
run him off the line and see what he does. What about his fact? You look at some of the scouting reports here. One of the common threads and the weaknesses is he can't create, lacks creation skill. I think he can develop that, but again, the Spurs need a shot creator. I mean, they need somebody
Yeah.
who can create their own shot.
Yeah.
Wimby needs that type of player on him. Talk about that aspect of his game.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen the level of shot creation that, maybe he has in his bag at this very moment. I mean, he hit a lot of spot up, step in, dribble threes
Mhm.
and at Kentucky. And yes, that's extremely valuable at the next level. Having a guy that can, you're not every time he shoots it, you're thinking it's going to go in. That's the type of shooter that Reed Sheppard is. But when it comes to off the dribble and breaking down your defender, and then this is where like Jalen Brunson, this is what he thrives at. He breaks his defender down and he can hit from the mid range. He's got all types of moves and counters in his bag to create his own separation to get his own shot off. And we haven't really seen that from Reed. And like you said, that's just time in the gym. He can certainly come into the league and develop that. I mean, you look at Jalen Brunson, no one thought he was going to be what he is when he entered the league.
Right.
No one. You can't tell me, maybe besides Jalen Brunson and his family, anyone thought that Jalen Brunson was going to come in and be one of the best guards in the whole NBA.
Yeah.
So while Reed doesn't have that shot creator badge to him right now, I think he definitely can develop that with, just it's just time in the gym, getting
Yeah.
those reps in. And yeah, he's like we said, he's super athletic, very quick, super bouncy. So he can certainly learn to create his own shot, and that will eventually help him, you know, learn to score over those bigger defenders with how athletic
Mhm.
he is. So I think, a couple years down the road in the NBA, Reed Sheppard is going to be a very, very serviceable NBA player and probably a franchise point guard because he's just got that high level of basketball IQ, and the shooting ability, like we've said, is just through the roof.
Yeah. But what I think will help him too is the NBA spacing. So I think that's another thing that really could see his game elevate, is just that
Yeah.
NBA spacing. So
Especially with the spacing from the gravity of a Wemby.
yeah, Wemby is going to create a lot of space for not just Reed or the Spurs would have selected, but anybody. But that's the thing: the Spurs on the current roster don't have somebody who is a shooter like
No,
Reed. That they
not at
don't
all.
have anybody like that at all. And that's where the Spurs, I can see them being intrigued. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear leading up to the draft, reports Reed Sheppard is rising in the Spurs draft board, some sort of report like that. I can get why they would see him as that. But ultimately, and by the way, too, turnovers. I think he averaged about 2 turnovers a game. So that I guess it's not terrible, but again, that's something he needs to look at. But again, all these NBA players turn the ball over in today's NBA. Seriously, how many times do you see in the playoffs key turnovers left and right?
Yeah.
But regardless, what is outlook? Okay, so we've talked about the pros, talked about the cons. Why should the Spurs draft him, or why should the Spurs stay away from him?
I think at 4, it's too high for me.
Right,
I would not take him at 4. At 4, I think I take a lottery pick, lottery ticket pick in one of these big scoring wings like Matas, Ricochet, a Cody Williams, maybe a Ron Holland, someone with size and versatility that can guard multiple positions, stuff like that. But at 8, I mean, when you get to 8 and you've already picked at 4, you don't got a whole lot to really lose at that point. I mean, it's another, shot in the dark, another ticket to that lottery. So, yeah, I mean, at 8, I'm definitely looking at someone who can come in and shoot, whether that's Reed, Dalton Connect, one of these other wings that I mentioned. If we don't grab them there, I definitely want a guy that is a shooter, someone that it can, every time he puts the ball up, you're like, it's going in. So yeah, at 8, I would not be mad about a Reed Sheppard. I mean, he's probably, after Castle, I'd say he's probably second guard on my big board. I mean, Topic was up there, but the injury concerns just really, I don't want to draft a guy who's been hurt.
And he's not even being mentioned anymore as much at all. I mean, he's gotten quiet. So
yeah.
But no, I'm with you. I think at 8, I will be okay with Reed. At 4, I'm flipping tables. I'm like, what are you doing, Spurs?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? But at 8, perfectly fine. We always talk about the Spurs, or just any NBA team drafting best available. But in a weird way, the Spurs picking Reed could be a sign of they're picking based on need. And they need outside shooting. But there you have it. Our thoughts on whether or not Spurs should draft Mr. I know I almost called him Reed Richards. Seriously. I almost called him Reed Richards, everybody. That's how big of a nerd I am. Reed Sheppard. So we need to hear what you think. You can let Jack know what you think about his take on Reed, and more at Jack_Thompson 30. Yeah, Jack will show you right there. See? And you can let me know on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. Leave a comment, because that's what we're going to be talking about next. Your comments. What are y'all talking about? Shocker, Jack, it's all about the draft. We'll talk about that in just a few seconds. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Look, we all can use some help sometimes getting things off our chest. That's where BetterHelp comes in. Look, whether you're having ups, you're having downs, whether you're having moments that you would like to improve upon, or maybe you're doing something right and you want to continue doing it right, that's where BetterHelp comes in. So we all carry around different stressors every single day, big or small. And sometimes we keep them bottled up. And that can start affecting you negatively. Therapy is a safe space to get things off your chest and to figure out how to work through whatever is weighing you down. BetterHelp can help you do all that. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. You can match with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. BetterHelp makes it easy for you. That's why we're going to go try it right now. Get things off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
Oh, hey, this is Morty Smith and Cheese. You are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. Cheese.
And we're joined by Jack Thompson. Follow him on X at Jack_Thompson33, formerly with San Antonio Sports Star. We're talking all things NBA draft and prospects. And we're going to continue that because you guys at the Locked On Spurs YouTube page are still talking about it. And I get it. Exciting times.
I talk about it every day with my friends.
That he does. Jack definitely does do that. And Jack, let's get dive into it here. So as mentioned, Spurs fans, at least on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, that's all they're talking about right now. So the first comment is from Scott Muir. He says, Devin Carter and Isaiah Collier are explosive players, but are projected late lottery or later.
Mm-hmm.
End of comment there. What do you think about that? Devin Carter and Isaiah Collier. Would you like to see the Spurs kick the tires on those two players, or do you agree with Scott that they're probably going to go late in the draft?
I mean, you look at the mock draft from beginning of the last college season. Isaiah Collier he's a top 5 pick. He was one of the best players coming out of high school. He was really good at USC in the beginning. Then he got hurt. He fell off everybody's map, but he came back and he had a productive end to his season. He's a big bully of a guard. I mean, he's a big body guard, super strong, super athletic. Definitely needs work on his shot, but getting to the paint, I mean, he's super quick, very, very strong guard with a big frame. He's an intriguing prospect. I mean, like I said, you go into last season, he's a lottery pick, locked in every mock draft. He was the best guard coming out of high school. And yeah, I think he's an intriguing prospect for sure. If he can get his jump shot right, he has the makings for a long-time NBA player and someone that could definitely develop into a starting point guard in the NBA. When it comes to Devin Carter,
go ahead. Yeah, sorry. No, go ahead.
No, when it comes to Devin Carter, I mean, he's an older player, older prospect. He was at Providence, I think, for 3 years. This was his junior season. He averaged around 20 points this year. He's a high level scorer, but he levels out to me as sort of like a Derek White type. Very long, very strong guard, is going to give you everything he's got on defense. He's going to try.
Again,
he's going to
another great comp. I mean, that's a great comp. If you're going to project to be Derek White, that's not bad at all.
No, not bad at all. I mean, he's a long-armed point guard, combo guard. You can slot him in at the 1 or the 2 like you can with Derek White. He's going to take the challenge of guarding the other team's best guard, and he's going to thrive in doing so. So yeah, I like Devin Carter a lot. He's been flying up draft boards recently too, and I think he's definitely going to be picked in the lottery. Collier, he may fall out of that back end of the lottery because his body of work in college just was up and down with injuries and just not being consistent. But we've seen the consistency from Devin Carter for 3 years now, and he had his best season this last year with the Friars. So I think Devin Carter is definitely a lock for the between the 10 and 15 picks in the NBA draft.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the Spurs, they worked out Carter, correct?
Yes, the Spurs did work out Devin Carter.
Yeah, so there must be some interest there from the Spurs. The Spurs don't bring anybody in just to waste their time.
Yep.
If they don't got a Carter, I could definitely see them, selecting him. If
8, I would say 8 is not a huge reach for Devin Carter. I mean,
I was just about to ask you that. Yeah.
Once you get to 8 to 15, it's who's your favorite of that group, and take him. I mean, it's not a huge difference. We've been saying that the whole time. I mean, after maybe 1 and 2 in this draft, it's all about who fits best with your team and who you think projects to be the best and who you've done your homework on the most. So if that's Devin Carter for us at 8, I'm not super opposed. I think he can come in and be a plug and play type player because he's older. He's a mature player already. He's, had his time in the NCAA. He's played in the tournament, played in the big games, and he's thrived while doing so. So I think Devin Carter at 8 is a lot like Reed Sheppard at 8. It's a good pick.
All right. Thank you for that comment there. And we're going to get our next comment here. More draft talk. Yeah, Spurs fans are really all about this draft right now. This one's from Rez. He says, You're gonna love this one, Jack. You're gonna like this one. Well, you're gonna like maybe not the other side of it. He says, I'd like to draft 2 forwards in this draft. I'd like us, the Spurs, to trade up for Risha Shea and draft Tijane Salaun at 8. We could draft a better point guard. Listen to this, Jack, with our 2025 first round pick. Thank you for that comment, Rez. Look, I know you're high on Risha Shea, but this Salaun guy, he keeps on popping up left and right.
He's come out of I would say of all the players in this draft, this is the guy I think I know the least about. I hadn't heard of him until maybe 2 weeks ago when I saw his tape flying around on Twitter. Now, he's an intriguing prospect, don't get me wrong. He's long, lanky, super athletic. Looks like he's got a jump shot that can translate to the NBA, can get to the rim. But as far as him at 8, I mean, that seems like a big reach to me. It's for a guy that literally came out of nowhere. And if this is a guy that I have never heard of, I mean, he's really come out of nowhere because I take pride in knowing about basically everyone in the draft. So I feel like that's a huge reach. But I do love his plan. Don't get me wrong. 2 forwards and a guard next year is the way to do it because the guard class next year is insane.
Yeah. It's not out of the realm of possibility of the Spurs getting somebody out of the blue. Look what they did with Josh Primo. And just everybody was stunned.
It's very true.
Draft. Yeah.
Very true.
We know Risha Shea, look, as much Rez, I hear your comment. I'd love for the Spurs to get him, but I highly doubt he'll be at 4, right? I mean,
no,
do you really think Risha Shea would drop to 4?
No, we would have to package 4 and someone else and go get 2 or 1. And I don't even I don't think we're gonna get Risha Shea unless that happens. Which I would I would trade 4 to go get 2. I mean, there's guys on our roster who can play in the NBA who are not going to be part of the final product for the Spurs that I'd be more than willing to trade with 4 to go get 2 and have a shot at Risha Shea or Sar. I would totally do that.
I'm glad you brought that up. Would you not be? Well, there's rumbling that Atlanta would like to deal the number 1 pick. Would you like the Spurs to get in on that action? Trade up for number 1. I mean, they got to use these picks. They got to burn them somehow.
Yeah. I mean, if they'll take 8 and 4, I would, I'd probably take 1 to get, Risha Shea or Shar. I mean, I wouldn't be totally opposed to that. But I feel like if we're going to deal with Atlanta, it's not going to be that for that number 1 pick. We're trying to get Trae Young. I don't think we got interest in dealing with them unless it's for that. Now, I would take 2. I'll go and try and get 2 over 1, I think, because I'm happy with either Risha Shea or Sar. And making that decision is tough, especially in a draft where you don't know who the best player really is. So I'll take who you think is not the best player at 2 and be perfectly fine with it. And I think that would be a fantastic move. Trading 4 and someone on the squad already and going to get 2 would be a great move by the Spurs.
By the way, I saw your eyes light up when you talked about the 2025 draft crop of guards. Is it that good?
It's really, really good. There's at least 5 point guards or 5, combo type guards that are going to be picked in the top 10. It's a deep, deep guard class. On top of, Cooper Flag and Ace Bailey and all these other guys who are projected to be NBA All-Stars. There's so many good guards. It's really, if we're going to draft a young guard, it's next year. It's not this year.
All right, we appreciate that comment, Rez. You definitely got Jack all riled up now. Look at him.
I talk about that every day with my friends. It's next year for the guards. I can name 5 off the top of my head that will be in the lottery next year.
He is Jack Thompson. Make sure to follow him on X at Jack_Thompson33. He is our go-to guy for all things NBA draft prospects, and so much more. He's probably not going to be done with us for a while. The draft is still weeks away, so we're going to be turning out these draft profile.
Let's run down the whole mock draft, baby. Let's talk about everyone.
I wish we could be talking about Sar, like for sure, like for real, for real.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna go, but
Yeah.
that ain't gonna happen at all. But again, follow Jack on X at Jack__ Thompson 33. Do that right now. Ask him some questions. Ask him. You pick his
Do it.
brain. He'll love to talk to you about all things draft prospects and so much more. And we're done talking. We want to hear from you. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs, where we get your favorite podcast: YouTube, Ken's 5 Plus app, iTunes, Spotify. Pick a platform. We are there. We'll be back tomorrow with more Spurs talk as the Spurs offseason continues. Jack, before I let you go, I want to pick your nerd brain. Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, he's going to test it right now. What is this? I stumped him.
It looks like something that's in the DC universe.
Okay, you're on the right path. Yep. You're on the right path.
Is that
You're there. I can see it in your head.
I know it's brewing in there.
I see
I
it.
feel like that's something to do with the Joker. Am I wrong with that?
No.
No.
But
Gosh,
you're
all right.
kind of still on the right path-ish. Kind of.
What is it? What is it?
It is the Legion of Doom headquarters.
Got you.
Yeah.
I knew I'd seen that before, but I couldn't.
Remember it raises out of the water? It comes out of the water
Mm-hmm.
and the swamp and then just covered.
Yeah.
And yeah, so say you're kind of on the right. It is DC. Yes, Joker's been in there. So
Yeah.
But we stumped Jack Thompson's nerd brain. We did it, everybody. All right. And on that note, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. So for Jack Thompson, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.